So guess what movie I just saw? Yeah, so here it is, guys, my very, very late review of Krampus. I didn't get to see this during last year, during the holidays. Shit happens, what can I say? But last night, I finally got to watch Krampus. At home, alone. I was like, you know what? I want to watch Krampus. So, and boy, let me say, if I had seen this movie last year, this would have been on my goddamn top 10 favorite films list. This would have been on my top 10 favorite films because this movie is spectacular. This movie is just awesome. This is the best way I could say is like it takes the whole Christmas warm and loving feeling and just bukakis it all over the face with horror. Yeah, there's a great analogy for this film, and I'm sticking to it. But this movie, another way you could describe it is like a holiday version of, it's a holiday version of Evil Dead. And it actually feels a lot like you're watching another Evil Dead film, really. This is a movie that blends horror and comedy, and I think it does very well, honestly. The director of this film is Michael Daughtry, who I'm trying to remember what else he helped write the films of X-Men 2 and Superman Returns. But most of you guys would know him best as the director of the Halloween film Trick or Treat, which is actually a really great horror anthology film, which is based off of an old horror comic. It's really good. If you haven't seen Trick or Treat, it's really good. And Michael Daughtry keeps up the whole horror holiday tradition with, of course, Krampus. Now, the story kind of revolves around a family who, they hate each other. This family that really just does not like each other. And actually, I could kind of gravitate towards this. It's kind of funny because my outside family with my aunts and uncles, we don't have the best, my family doesn't have the best relationship with some of the other members of our families, of our other relatives, outside of my grandparents on my mom's side of the family. I think on her side of the family, we're not really liked, so yeah, I could kind of relate to this. I was watching this film and I was like, oh man, it's like looking in a mirror. Yeah. Now, this film does have CGI, but what I really love about it is that it really delves into practical effects. I mean, yeah, the Krampus, when you first see it, is pretty much, there is some CGI with Krampus, especially when it runs, but for the most part, this does have CGI moments, but it does so well of showing practical effects. It's the same thing with The Force Awakens, where it knows when to use practical effects and when not to. And when it uses practical effects, it's not like a gimmick. It's not like it's like ooh, look at this, we're going back to practical effects, guys. No, the practical effects in here with Krampus's toys and the other its helpers and Krampus itself, because that thing, for the most part, is a suit, save for a few scenes. It's really well done. Even the reindeer, even Krampus's reindeer are people in suits. I thought that was amazing. I also found it really fun that Seth Green and Justin Roiland, who most of you guys would know best as Morty from Rick and Morty and Brendan Blandon from Gravity Falls, they played two of the gingerbread men. I don't know which one, because they all have different names, but they don't specify which is which. I thought that was really funny. And there's a hilarious scene with the gingerbread men involving David Koechner. And if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. It just goes on and it's hilarious. That's the thing. Like Evil Dead 2, this film knows when to blend horror and comedy to, its best extent. Like, it knows when to be serious and when not to be. Because it's a film about killer toys and a giant goat man monster. So I think it knew when to turn the serious off and when not to turn the serious on. The cast in here is really great. However, aside from David Koechner, I think that's how you say his last name, and Adam Scott, I really didn't know any of the other actors, but everyone in here was pretty good. There wasn't an actor or actress in here I was like, even the kid actor and actresses, like, you felt bad for them. There are some legit horror moments in here where you feel terrible for some of these kids, even though, yeah, they're kind of assholes at the start, but then as shit goes down, you really, really feel bad for them. Like, some of them go out horrible. I'm not gonna lie, guys, because, again, I guess I could spoil some stuff, because this movie's been out since, last Christmas, so I guess, yeah, I'd feel free to spoil stuff. But yeah, some of the kids die horribly. Like, one kid gets eaten like an anaconda by a killer giant jack-in-the-box. There's also one kid who you don't know what happens to him. He goes up the chimney, he don't come back. And that's the thing, like, there are some characters like, oh, they're not gonna kill that kid. There's no way they could kill that kid. Oh, they did. Oh. Like, I thought it was really cool, because I love it when movies, because in most horror films, initially horror films, children are usually kept alive for the most part. There are horror films out there where the kids die horribly. But it's for, like, a rule of thumb that the kids are so innocent that they usually get kept alive unless you're over 18 and having sex. Then you're fucked. But for the most part, if you're a child, then you're totally fine in a horror film. Not this movie. No. There's a kid. A kid is the first one to go. And it's actually someone I thought was going to make it through the film. But no, she is the first one to go. She is like the main boy's daughter who gives up hope on his family. And actually is the one who summons the Krampus to their house. She's the first one to go. And then following that, it's just utter chaos. I really like the main kid in here. I think the actor's name is MJ something, but he the character of Max, and he's really good because he's still a kid and he still wants to keep that innocence, but at the same time he's a realist. He's like a diehard realist and knows that how the world works. And I felt I could really relate to that kid, honestly. Adam Scott in here is really fun. David Koechner plays your typical right-wing, gun-toting kind of guy. And I was like, you're a young Burt Gummer. He's like, he was trying to be Burt Gummer from Tremors. That's the best way I could describe him. He's like, he's this version's Burt Gummer, and Adam Scott is this film's Bruce Campbell. Yeah, it's like, just kind of imagine Burt Gummer and Ash teaming up in a film. That's the best way I could describe how Adam Scott and David Koechner's characters were. They were just diet Ash and Burt. And I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm actually kind of like that, because that's how their characters kind of pretty much reminded me of them. Again, the monsters in here are really good. The dark elves are really creepy. I was like, God, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I want to cosplay as one of the dark elves. Especially the one with, like, the 18th century medical mask with the beak, the one I'm talking about. I was like, I want to be that guy at a convention. Oh, Lord, I was literally like that. I was like, how, that's going to be a lot. I can't wait to cosplay as that character if I find the right material and can afford it. The film, even though there's no real problem with the film, just a minor thing, and I'll explain why it didn't bother me, and I can understand why it bothered some people. The film is called Krampus, and the main villain in here is Krampus, but you don't see a lot of him. Technically speaking, you get about 6, 7 minutes, 8 minutes tops of Krampus, of scenes with Krampus. You see more of his minions, like the elves and dark toys, than you do Krampus himself. But when they use him, oh Lord, is it terrifying. Like, the first scene you see him in, there's this shot of this girl looking up, and it's a tracking shot of her looking up, and you see Krampus, and you're like, oh it's not like a close-up or anything, but it shows him looking down at her at a roof, and I'm like, oh shit. And it's a great scene of her running for her life, and he's just running on the on the rooftops, and it's a great scene because you're like, oh my God, are they really going to kill this kid off? And I'm like, oh, they're not. Oh shit, they did. And when you fully see Krampus, I thought that was really cool, because it's a guy in a suit. It's big suitimation. And that suit, the Krampus costume, is nothing short of spectacular. As a fan of practical effects myself, I was like, my God, this is beautiful. This thing is ugly, disgusting, creepy as all hell, and it's beautiful. But yeah, this film also has a little bit of a twisted ending that makes you go, what the fuck? But at the same time, you like that ending, because it was about to go to it like, oh, it was all a dream, and then it saved itself from not being that, and I was like, oh, all right. And I really hope, like, maybe there's a possibility of a sequel. I don't know if I actually want a sequel, because then sequels try to explain Krampus more, and I was like, I already know all I need to know about Krampus. He's a demon who punishes children and families who don't believe in Christmas anymore. Oh, I almost forgot. There's this beautiful animated scene of the grandma who knows Krampus, and I really like that, because Krampus, the grandmother is German, she's Jewish, And in the legend of Krampus is mostly known in Europe. It's a European folklore that is still kind of like people in Europe still fear the Krampus in most parts. And I really like that because mostly the origin of the Krampus story started in Germany, and I thought that was really cool. And they could have and when she talks about her past, I was like, okay, she's just going to go through this monologue of telling how she knows Krampus. But Michael Daughtry and the crew behind Krampus did something even better. They did an animated scene, which I don't know if it was stop motion or not, but it felt like something like the animation company from the people who did Coraline. It felt like the animation group behind Coraline and Paranorman. Like, it felt like that company. I don't know if it was CGI or not, or stop motion. Either way, that was a brilliant way to tell the story of Krampus. The grandma's story of Krampus. Because they could have easily done, we're not even going to do a flashback. They could just be like, I'm just going to tell you this story, and you're going to be freaked out. No, they went the extra mile and did an animated flashback, which I thought was really cool. So kudos for that. This film is a great horror film. I'm really glad it did well at the box office for a film that only was made for $15 million, which is really low budget in Hollywood standards. This film made $61 million, which actually is really good for a film, considering that this movie came out like weeks before Star Wars. So I thought it was gonna tank, even though because it came out in the same month as Star Wars. Like, it was gonna have a really good opening week, and then it was just gonna fall off the map after Star Wars. But no, it actually held its own and made $61 million, which is that's actually pretty good for a film such as it. So all in all, if you haven't seen Krampus yet, go friggin' see it now. I absolutely love this movie. I thought it was a great blend of horror and comedy. Just all in all, it's a great film. Just go see it. Anyway, so if you guys have seen Krampus, you guys tell me, what did you all think of Krampus? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.